Welcome, everyone, to the Clubhouse event, Your Energy, Your Health. Be responsible and take action. I would like to first start by raising the vibration of the space that we're in now, by calling for the highest possible vibration, calling for the truth to come forward into our discussion so that the truth can be seen, heard, and spoken, that we all be in the frequency of truth and have nothing but the truth, calling for the highest possible vibration. Shall we call for the divine feminine to bring balance back into our world with the way through honor, respect, and gratitude? Shall we call for the power divine feminine to bring balance back into our world through the wave with honor, respect, and gratitude? And shall we call forth the truth? Call to see the truth, hear the truth, speak the truth, and be the truth. Call, have nothing but the truth. Now I'll ask for everyone to take a sip of water, as water holds memory, and ask for the water to hydrate our brains and body. Let me do this now. Shall we now take a deep breath in? 3, 2, 1, and let it all out. Take another deep breath in, bringing in peace, joy, and gratitude. And exhale out, releasing all stress and worry, all that does not serve you. And Lakesh and Veritas, everyone. I call forth the oneness and truth of the information shared by each and every one of us on this call, calling in that frequency of truth so that we all can experience all that is of the truth, as it is our purpose to bring forward the truth so that we all can benefit from this information shared. With honor, respect, and gratitude to you all. The greeting and Lakesh signifies unity, where everything is related, where everything and everyone is connected. It is the idea of community, where we can share with one another ideas, goals, and aspirations so that we all, as one, can benefit and thrive. It is, and Lakesh and Veritas, a declaration in which we are cleansing, clearing, and uplifting the space we're in so that we can maintain a truthful, elevated, enlightened discussion. It is a powerful testimony that brings clarity and greater understanding for everyone. It is a way of clearing away those thoughts that we tend to pick up and carry with us from our everyday life experiences, thoughts that do not serve us. Those life experiences of disharmony that creates a frequency of panic and stress. Our words have power, so let us remember to decide to use our words carefully, using words of upliftment, encouragement, and enlightenment. By doing so, we will help us to transform our spaces and places to its highest energetic frequency. All right, so before we begin, I would like for everyone to take another sip of water. We are 70% water, and water holds information and memory. It will allow for the ease and flow of the information that we'll be sharing with one another this evening. I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with the book, The Hidden Messages of Water, written by Dr. Emoto, where he gives a very good explanation on how water can be imprinted with information when exposed to various sounds. This imprinted information can then be picked up by our cells through signaling, all part of quantum physics. All right, everyone. As a quick reminder, a recording of this Clubhouse event will be available on our YouTube channel, Enlica Studios. So please remember to subscribe and keep up to date with the new content that is continuously being added. Just go on Enlica Studios on YouTube, locate us, and subscribe. You can now also access our recordings on Vimeo. Just search Enlica Studios, locate us, and find the recordings. All right, so let's do a quick recap on what has been happening over the past month in our mainstream media, the mainstream media news. Yesterday, there was yet another major news story of a mass shooting, this time at an elementary school in Texas, killing 19 children and 2 adults. The shooter is reported to be dead, shooting himself after the incident. And this event comes after reporting of another mass shooting just a week before at a supermarket in Buffalo, New York, on Monday, the 16th, investigated as a hate crime, with the alleged attacker being only 18 years of age, describing the the attack itself as an act of terrorism from a white supremacist. They haven't released much information, which is interesting, on the details of the current shooter at the elementary school in Texas. So more to come. But if you look at this, additional mass shootings occurring in just the month of May includes a shooting at a church in Laguna Woods, California on the 15th, killing 1 and injuring 4, and another mass shooting in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on Friday the 13th, May 13th, following a Bucks game where 16 people were shot and injured. What makes this recent mass shooting at the elementary school, Texas, is that it's so impactful, is that it took the lives of 19 children. So there was a recent article I just read from the New York Times titled "How to Reduce Shootings," where they described the United States having the highest rate of firearm ownership than any other country in the world, the greatest number of murders from private arsenal, 5 times more lethal than Canada and 30 times worse than Australia. The writer then proposed a system of gun safety rather than gun control, approaching this issue from a public health standpoint, applying it as an auto safety model approach, enforcing more stringent laws, stating that the existing laws are currently too lax. So this leads to our discussion now. And last week, we had the pleasure of having Tarvars of the Sun to join us on Clubhouse. He gave a great explanation on the concept of energetic clearing of our spaces by following a protocol called quantum-like property clearing. So this technique of quantum-like property clearing was developed by the renowned Lauta Rasul of the Sun, who developed this technique of energetic clearing of our spaces and places. This technique that she developed has been backed up by over 40 years of experience, which personally I found it to be the most effective way in which one can have effective change in their circumstances and outcomes, affecting one's emotional, physical, and mental health. It's all about Enlakesh. So last week we talked about how our energies from outside of our homes can be brought into our so-called safe space, resulting in anxiety, depression, signaling the cells of our bodies, causing those ill effects. And it's not just emotional mental ills. That's just the beginning. The emotional ills leads to physical problems that we face in our bodies. So I have Tarvars, Chief Financial Officer and Creative Director of the Sun, as well as practitioner and senior instructor of the modality of quantum-like property clearing. He's here with us again this evening to provide us with a quick recap on what was discussed last week and to help assist us on what we can do to protect ourselves from our current societal upheaval, the fear that we're encountering now, today, in our everyday lives and interactions. And quite frankly, it's getting out of hand, especially when we're trying to lead a peaceful life through our daily activities without the concern of a potential threat on our lives once we step out the door of our homes into the world. So Tarvars, welcome again to this Clubhouse. Thank you for joining us.
In Lakesh and Veritas, everyone, I greet you in oneness and truth. And I'm happy to be here again, round 2.
Yeah. And Lakesh and Veritas, with honor, respect, and gratitude. Thank you so much.
Welcome. So I'd like to, as you mentioned, give a brief recap. I see some familiar faces from the first session we did together last week, and a few new faces who weren't on last week, and maybe you heard the audio recording, maybe you didn't, but if you didn't, the idea of quantum light property clearing, as Dr. Delilah mentioned, was brought forth from Lao Tzu of the Sun. And currently, within of the Sun, I'm teaching the modality, but also providing the service for people who may want to have their homes cleared, who are looking to sell, who are going through divorce. Like, get his energy out of here. From that imprint,
Absolutely, yeah.
it's the real thing. And but to stretch the understanding of the importance not only for our homes, but how this can benefit the communities, the cities, the states, and the world at large. So, uh, quantum light property clearing, it's heavily supported by some of the modern day science, and uh, some of this emergent science that has come forth that's taught within the class is the study of morphogenetic fields, which these are, it's the understanding that everything has a field, and this field contains information and a specific type of memory. So, for example, the human body, when we're a fetus, there's a energy field that's informing the growth of the different types of cells. It's again so interesting how science shows that they can't really account for how the liver cell and the cell in the lung is the same cell, but it forms differently. Like,
Yeah.
what's informing it? The genes don't do that, or gene expression doesn't do that, and it's coming from the field, and it's no different than animals or plants. And this same principle of specifically morphic fields, they are within our structures and our towns and the planet itself, or the collective consciousness. There's a field of memory that is informing us and shaping our form, influencing action. So understanding that this is what we're interfacing with in spaces and places on the regular, for
Mm-hmm.
better or for worse. And then there's also the study of epigenetics, which shows how environmental influences actually affect the expressions of our genes and behavior. And there were science experiments that were done with cells that were in one petri dish, and they took the cell and put it in a completely different environment, and how that cell not only was influenced but also adapted and took on certain traits that were indicative of the different and new environment. And of course, we are made of trillions of cells, probably hundreds of trillions, something like that. And, it's amalgamation of cells. So the same principles that are playing out at the lower microscopic levels transcend through the higher levels of our experience. So it's kind of goes back into what Dr. Delilah was saying about the water, how we see that water can be imprinted, water retains a type of memory. And when you consider the study from Dr. Emoto, I know when I first came across it and I saw just how profound of an impact and how easy it is, that's I think the thing that escaped me, and but also had the strongest impression, just how easy it is for water to be impressed by a thought or sound. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm water. What am I listening to? Who am I engaging with? What environments am I going into that's informing me and reshaping me at the molecular level and influencing me? So these are things that, through awareness, it helps us use discernment and what we're interfacing with and inviting into our field, but also what to look out to protect ourselves from as well. And there was one last study that I shared last week, which is the study of the implicate order, which is essentially consciousness is, or our individual consciousness is unfolding externally out outside of us. And this is essentially the holographic principle. Some of you may already be familiar with that, where we can see ourselves through our family members, the jobs that we work, even through our financial situation, our relationship circumstances. We see every aspect of ourselves contained within the whole. And, it's connected to this idea of oneness. And this is a very strong idea that Of the Sun is supporting here in Lakesh, to stretch ourselves to move beyond the programming of separation and disconnection, whether it's with our own divinity or, for example, the examples of the current news headlines that Dr. Delilah shared. We're not separate from what we're experiencing. We're not separate from the manipulation and the coercion that we are collectively experiencing. This is us. We're seeing ourselves revealed to ourselves through our circumstances, and that's the truth of our reality. But again, there's power within accepting that reality, accepting that, okay, I am projected into the field, I'm being informed by the field has been informed by me, and I can re-inform the field, which will re-inform me and all the occupants in the space. So again, just recapping essentially the science that supported it. And we gave a ton of different examples of um, my early experiences of clearing properties and really seeing how this modality allows for us to change, or yes, essentially change the external environment or the experience, where we're lifting up the layers of interferences that have been imprinted in the spaces, which is that memory I was talking about, that's
Mm-hmm.
trapped within the space and folding on the consciousness of the occupants, reinforcing their loop negative patterns, reinforcing the depression that they can't quite get out of, reinforcing the sadness or the anger. And when we remove those fields, it gives the individual a greater opportunity to choose differently, to really step into their free will, because the environment has such a profound impact. And to tie this, to wrap this up and start beginning to tie this into what you were saying tonight, those examples is why we clear. Because uh, it was interesting. Earlier today, I went on YouTube, and the moment I pulled it up and it showed me the headlines of the suggestions in the news, and all I could see was a corresponding theme, not corresponding, but a repetitive theme of shootings and killings and racism. I
Mm-hmm.
could see this type of energy attempting to insinuate itself into my experience. And I was like, no, we're not doing that today. And I closed out YouTube. And so I'm seeing clear as day where the morphic field of humanity's consciousness, our environment, our homes, it's being bombarded with the fear that, can I go into a grocery store without getting shot? Can I send my children to school and they will make it back? So this type of energy is out there. And I want to speak today specifically about how this modality can assist with uh, not just being preventative, but even after the fact, the um, removing the collateral damage, so to say, from these
Mm-hmm.
experiences that have taken place, so that they don't repeat themselves. So that the sadness and the death that's within the schools or the spaces and the places, or even in our own homes, from feeling the sympathy and dropping into a low vibration, clearing that up so that we don't have to continue to be pulled into that space.
Mm-hmm.
So before I even jump into that, Dr. Delilah, you got any thoughts on this at all?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch bases, come back to when you talked about epigenetics. People all, they'll say, well, my parents had diabetes, so I'm going to have diabetes and so forth. And just as you described about being able to alter the environment, you don't have to develop those, diseases just because it's in your genetic code. It's the environment that controls the out and can shift you out of that experience that you perceive that your ancestors, your lineage had projected. You do the same, the results become out to be the same. You change and shift into something different, your outcome will be different. If I mean, I don't know if you have any comments on
Oh,
that.
most certainly. I understand we live in a universe that's constantly changing and expanding. It's the essence or the fundamental mechanics of our universe is growth and expansion.
Hmm.
Last time I checked, myself as well as you all we're part of that experience of growth and expansion. So it doesn't it's like I can't compute the idea, at least in this point in time of my growth, I can't compute the idea that, oh, because grandpa went through what they went through in terms of their health or certain looped negative patterns that were systemic through the lineage, that, oh, that's going to be my future.
Right.
And I think that plays out in various different ways. It plays out with health, of course. It plays out with our thought patterns and our different belief systems that are often limiting. I
Hmm.
can see where even spiritual modalities, this is actually a conversation Lois and I have had multiple times, where uh, people will specifically lean into astrology or even human design. And I call these modalities out respectfully. I put respect on it, because they have their place. But, when you get something like DNA activation, like, you're not the same. A lot
Yes.
of the general traits or the information that you come in with, it changes.
Hmm.
So everything doesn't relate anymore, and that part escapes people. So I can see where, even on the spiritual correction, even on the physical level, with modern medicine and our understanding of disease and how we think it's hereditary, it's like, yeah, but no.
Right.
We can choose. And I've seen that within my personal life experience, not only with health, because my family don't really eat the best, and
Right.
I already see the decline of the health of my mother, my grandmother. I could see levels of alcoholism in my mother, and I could see where I was developing that.
Hmm.
And guess what? I don't have that addiction. I've made it to the other side.
Hmm.
So it's so possible, but we have to know that we're free to choose.
Yeah.
We were born free, but there's so many different constructs within our world and ways of programming that makes us feel and believe that we don't have a choice. We're subjected to the way how things are, and it's we could say the same thing for this current pandemic that we're in. Oh, we have no choice because the government and they have more power. No, that's not the truth. Lao Tzu said something earlier, and I keep quoting her. we have a lot of really good conversations, and we have this joke where we say, I just wish we had a camera set up and it was just rolling 24/7, because there's so many good points that come up. But this idea of when we, hold on, let me pull the idea back. Oh, and just like that, the idea popped away. So guess what? It's floating somewhere above my left shoulder. When it comes back in, I'll tell you. So
Okay.
I'll,
All
I'll
right.
let it come back. It's
Cool.
but just to wrap up the idea, yes, we have power, we have control, we're free, and it's just a matter of us understanding that, and recognizing it, and then taking the action to, the action of being free.
Yeah.
But that often requires us to move beyond our fear, which this is again something that uh, deeply corresponds with what we're doing right now with quantum light property clearing, with clearing and collapsing the fear within the environment, the fear that has been imprinted in the past, that's playing out in the present, and it's influencing the future trajectory because it's in that field, that memory.
Mm.
So again, we are being inundated with fear left and right. It's nonstop. So it's like, what are we going to do about this? And for
Right.
other sunners, those who are clears, what we have chosen to do is to use this modality, this uh, tried and proven modality, to take control over our environment, to create the reality that we want, to move ourselves vibrationally above the fields of entrainment and influence that would pull forth a shooting or a robbery or something that would be deemed as a negative experience. That's essentially where I wanted to go with this idea of, it's all about vibration and resonance. We're beings of frequency, and we will pull to us exactly what we are. Exactly. So there is, and oftentimes I've encountered people who they feel some type of way because you have unfortunate, quote unquote, unfortunate situations where, like, youth may die, or, for example, someone may get raped or something like that. Traumatic happens, and the understanding is that the components or the algorithm for pulling that towards them was in their field already. It's no different from, like, you do bioenergetics, and you can see when there's disease in the field. Maybe it hasn't fully manifested in the body, but you can see that the information is in the field. So let's
Mm-hmm.
rectify this while it's in the field, while it's energetic, and we haven't given enough energy and focus and attention to it unconsciously, to where we're building up, and the next thing you know, it crystallizes physically.
Right.
So
Right.
this idea of it, again, this is a universal principle. It transcends with throughout the human experience, the body, but also extends itself to our spaces and places. So again, when we step into a level of energetic hygiene or custodianship for our home, we can, or even our businesses or our communities, we can raise ourselves above this experience where, yes, it will be happening around us because we are in that time. We're in a time of deconstruction, the reset. And for
Mm-hmm.
anyone who has been on Lao Tzu's talks, you already know what's up. And there's this understanding that in order to build something new, which clearly we need a whole new system. All the
Right.
systems need to be redone. Control, Alt, Delete.
Right.
Drop
Right.
into the trash bin. And then create a new system or program that serves all, not just humans, but our interconnectedness to the planet and other life forms. That needs to happen. But in order for that to happen, things have to deconstruct.
Mm-hmm.
And the deconstruction, it may look a little scary when you got a big sledgehammer and wrecking ball going through buildings, and
Mm-hmm.
bulldozer coming through. However, having understanding and being equipped, not just with the understanding, but ways in which you can keep yourself clear, is equivalent to having your construction hat, your safety hat, and having your fluorescent vest on. So we can protect ourselves during this time. That's part of the message. We don't have to allow ourselves to be um, subjected to the not just the fear, but the experience that other people are having. We can raise ourselves above this, and I feel like many of those on the line understand that in theory.
Mm-hmm.
However, I can see where life, the universe, our souls are requiring us to not just believe it, but to know this. And there's this theme that keeps coming up in my life from the Call for the Truth cards, the divination cards. You
Mm-hmm.
protect yourself by being confident in who you are. Know who you are. And
Mm-hmm.
I think I mentioned that last week. I had a freedom release session today with Serenia.
Mm-hmm.
And for anyone who may not know what that is, this is a process of reclaiming your energy from the various institutions and relationships and banking systems that usurp and take our energy from us unknowingly. And this process helps return that back to you. It's very empowering, and it also helps one move forward with a greater clarity and awareness of what who and what they're engaging with energetically and what's really happening.
Mm-hmm.
So She did the card reading for me, and it came up again. I'm like, okay, the universe wants me to hear this, and you know, again.
Right,
Matter of fact, there were two
right.
cards, but my the just to bring this full circle, my point is that when we know that we extend beyond the field or into the field, we are not just this physical body. We are our extensions. We are our vehicles. We are our homes. We are our communities, and so on and so on. Where and the capacity to change self and to influence our environment, that can protect us, if we know who we are. But if we are in doubt that, oh, I don't know if this clearing tool is going to clear me to raise me above my sadness and depression, or my uncertainty, uh,
Hmm.
we will suffer because we don't
Right,
know, or we'll more than likely allow ourselves to be vulnerable to not just uh, the general idea of a low vibrational emotion, but to where we may find ourselves in an unpleasant situation just through our,
right.
our doubt and lack of clarity. So I'm going to stop there
Like
because
it's kind of like the law of attraction, and that everybody knows that that Rhonda Burns brought forward years ago. If you have doubt, you're going to attract that doubt and that lower vibration into your field that makes you vulnerable to those untowards effects.
yes, most certainly. It's funny, whenever I hear about the law of attraction, I think about the movie The Secret, which I'm sure people are
Right,
familiar with, and I'm like,
right. That's
man, they
Rhonda.
really gave us like one little piece of the puzzle when there's
I
like 50 other
know,
pieces.
I know, I know. So they're like, okay, they told you, okay, that this is what happens. I'm like, okay, so what do we do? How do we fix this? What do we do?
Yeah,
And that's what's the beauty is of the sun, is that the of the sun teaches you how you can shift your vibration and frequency so that you can get out of that looped pattern, that programming. And I'd like you how you use the term programming. It's a program that's been imprinted in us for so long, trying to get out of that. And of the sun, the work, the services and the teachings of the sun teaches you how to break that programming so that you can reprogram into a corrected type of frequency, a corrected um, energy flow, if you will.
yes,
If I look at it from a bioenergetic standpoint.
yes. There's an experience coming forth that I like to share about the idea of programming, but also this idea of it coming down through the lineage, and how we don't have to be a victim of
Mm-hmm.
what's hereditary or what our parents thought and what their parents thought. And I had this experience with traveling and sharing with my family members what I was doing in my travels. There was just so much fear coming up in them, and
Mm-hmm.
what was interesting to me was how the fear that they had didn't even come from their own direct experience. It came from something that they saw on television or in a movie, and they were basing it off of that.
It's so funny.
And I was like, you feel very strongly, mom and grandma." That's who it was. Very strongly about this experience that you've never had, that you're projecting onto me. Like, why are you doing that? Have you questioned yourself? Like, come on. But as you as you were saying, within of the sun, we are teaching people to be astute with interpreting frequency, because that's really what's behind our experiences, what's behind our interactions, our thoughts, our frequencies. And
Mm,
it's, the universe is a simplistic complexity. Same thing with the information that's unfolding on us, uh, from our environments. They're different frequencies,
mhm,
and it will produce or influence certain types of behaviors. And it's important that we understand what we're seeing, like whether it's coming from a family member or a friend or a coworker, or even, identifying what the agenda is with the mainstream news and the dark forces on our planet. They're pushing fear. So we
Right.
should go. We should go the other way. don't,
Right.
don't go run in the opposite direction. And I did the same thing with grandma and mom. Like, oh, look, you know what? I have to go. I'm unable to participate in this conversation. And and it's
It's
important that we don't allow that to consume us, because if we linger, frequency is contagious. That's another thing Lauta and I were discussing in some convo of how people are around those who have had COVID or who have had vaccinations, and they're finding themselves with very similar illnesses, even though they may not have had an injection. It's just it's frequency transference and resonance.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it time and time again, um, in a room, and you start resonating just like, the person that you're in. Like, for instance, actually, it was what was brought to my attention, couples who have been married for many, many years, they sometimes say they start looking like each other. you know
Yeah, I've heard the same about people with their animals too.
right, and the animals. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, that's so funny. I'm thinking about an image that I saw of this guy, this older gentleman who was bald, and he had a bulldog, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, you have a bulldog face, or does the bulldog have your face?" I can't tell. So, I don't
Oh,
know if
that's
y'all
so
can see
funny.
that in your mind.
Oh,
But
wow.
yes, I think that's a truth that you're
Hmm.
sharing.
Yeah. So what are the things that we can do to protect ourselves?
Okay, so there's several things. Several things is a idea I want to bring forth, but I'm going to hold off and come back to it. One, energy hygiene practices, levels of mindfulness, being cognizant and aware of your weaknesses. Do you have doubt? Do you have uncertainty? Do you have fear in certain areas? Do you have addictions? Uh, Addressing those head on, monitoring yourself for that behavior and clearing yourself as you observe yourself having the thoughts of
Hmm.
dropping into it. And this part of this comes from when we work with our clients in the soul clearing process in our energetic clearing protocol. We
Hmm.
identify negative motivators. So sometimes people have, well, spoiler alert, everybody has fear. So
Right.
that's a
Right.
thing. It branches off differently. Some people have uh, deep imprinting on the soul of guilt. Some people have self punishment. Some people manipulate and coerce and doubt. There's all manners of negative motivators, and the idea would be to monitor yourself for the first off. We would have collapsed it on the soul blueprint, but there's still the thought process and the memory of the thoughts that come up that may be triggered. But it's
Hmm.
easier for the individual because they don't have the energetic accumulation and the weight uh, from the pattern pulling them unconsciously into it. It's just kind of them and themselves now and their thoughts. So
Right.
they
Right.
have the opportunity to create a new trajectory, which is a beautiful thing, right? But to make the most of it requires one to monitor their experience for it, and then use different tools. Many of us on the line are familiar with hold responsibility, ho'oponopono. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Taking responsibility, which, that's the theme of this clubhouse. Your energy, your health, be responsible, take action. So that's in keeping with that. We even have the practices. I mean, there's so many different practices. I'm gonna actually go through a list, and then I'll jump into physical things because uh, of the sun, even prior to me actually being part of the organism, the company, uh, I always understood that this place brings solutions. What of the sun stands for? It brings solutions in a time of need. And it has been that way for me since my early days of being a client, in some of the
Hmm.
most extreme cases, which both energetic mental practices and physical, tangible, vibrational support products have helped me through. So to continue with the list of practices, we have something called calling for right thinking. This many of the practices that Of the Sun provides, it's built within the idea or understanding that what you call forth must come. And oftentimes we're not calling forth the right and appropriate things. And we may be calling forth fear or the most problematic thing to come to us through our worry and our concerns and fear. Uh, or our inability to see the mathematical equations of the universe, how everything is just and exactly as it's supposed to be. So calling for right thinking allows us to see the right within our situation, which can pop us out of complaint, condemning, criticizing, whether it's ourselves or what we're experiencing, which again puts us in a seat of power through taking a level of responsibility. So that's a practice. We even have the idea of calling forth the balance of the divine feminine, and this is a big one. Especially you're hearing this from a male tonight. Yes, ladies. I'm about that divine feminine. Yes, and it's something that is it's so major here. The Of the Sun logo was changed to the divine feminine image. So that's is how much of an importance it is. And I personally understood through my journey the importance of the feminine principles through sacred geometry and seeing how you have both masculine and feminine in everything, even in the artificial world of the electronics and appliances. You have to have a plug to put inside of an outlet, which is a male and female
Hmm.
principle, and it extends throughout everything. You all are listening and receiving. That's a feminine trait, and to give or to push out, that masculine, that directive force. So these truths permeate throughout the entire matrix of our experience, but um, one has been subjugated and suppressed,
Right.
and the necessity of calling that back within our own experience individually, within my personal experience, specifically, again, I'm a male calling forth balance of the divine feminine within me. I have had, straight up, I have had struggles feeling the dominant masculine energy that not only within me but is also through the morphic field of the collective consciousness. We live on a dominant patriarchal world planet,
Yes.
and there's that pull as well, that influence, and having to put that down within me, and what has been perpetuated for generations, and it's just been a really interesting experience of just allowing that aspect of myself to surface. And
Hmm.
in a practical way, that looks like allowing myself to be more receptive and in tune with frequency and energy. I understand that these are uh, real feminine in principle traits. Having more respect for life, whether
Right.
it's my plants or I'm not looking to crush this insect, just respect for creation. This is a divine feminine principle, and we have lost that. So us calling
Yeah.
this forth in our experience, I'm gonna bring this full circle. Like, how does this really help? When we're not in balance with that idea, we do things like kill ourselves. We do
Yep.
things like self-sabotage,
Yep.
because we don't respect the creation principles of life. We do things that go against it. So when we call this forth, what I've experienced is that there's less of the urge to kill myself. Because that's really what's happening, right?
Or even kill others. It's not, if you're killing yourself, you're talking about, and Lakesh, killing others is killing self also too.
That's
And
right.
that's what's happening with the mass shootings. It's killing self. Y-
Yes. Yes. When we are suffering gravely because we don't see the connection. So
Mhm.
calling forth balance of the divine feminine within our experience, this is something that can help with that within our own experience. And then of course we feed the morphic field of the return of the divine feminine because it's coming back. It's here.
Yeah.
We're seeing it in really interesting ways. Like even within the political system, we have more than ever females who are in higher positions, even though the system is corrupt, we still have the example of that shift taking place,
Right.
and
Right. That's
so
the
it's
reset. That's part of the reset that's happening now, to the recognition of the divine feminine now, starting to kind of usurp itself and bring it forward, to bring that balance that's needed to salvage this earth. Yeah, our earth.
yes, yes. So then, to kind of bridge the gap with uh, energetic mental clearing practices, because I could keep going on about that. I feel like there's so much content and so many things we can talk
Oh,
about.
man,
So
it's going to be
please
a
bring me
part
back.
three. It'll probably be part three. So we'll get that going. Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
So Lao goes to me earlier today. She was like, "So you know what you're talking about today?" It's like, "Yep, I'm talking about clearing spaces and how that can affect our environments and communities, and talking about products today, like salts and woods and candles." And she's like, "Well, you can have a whole episode on wood." I'm like, "Well, dang,
Mhm.
I guess I'll
I
have to
know.
come back then."
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's
Yep.
feeling like that right now. But to tie this in with physical products, there's so of the sun we have insignias, and this is actually something in a general sense I wanted to expound on last time, of how I've noticed that not everyone has the appropriate understanding of how to utilize these energetic support products, these tools that of the sun presents, and I'd like to expound a little bit more on what's the one of the best ways to engage with these tools,
Hmm.
especially when you're engaging with them from the higher levels of understandings from the teachings of the sun. You get so much more out of them. So back to this idea of the divine feminine, we have tools called insignias, which are these geometric designs that are intuitively selected from crop circles that are actually imprinted in wheat fields over in England by various nature spirits. And those insignias carry a specific energetic signature that's intuitively selected for its appropriate use. So we have one for the divine feminine, which happens to be the new of the sun logo, and we have this available not only as a 8 by 11 laminated card. We also have this available in a 3 foot rug and a 40 by 60 inch fleece blanket. And these insignias, we have many of them. However, the way we engage with them is, you know, one, you can call forth the divine feminine just in and of itself. But when you engage with the geometry, the geometric structure and representation of said idea, this puts you within the matrix or the system and the intelligence of said idea. You have this greater level of power and support that's uh, enfolding on your consciousness, that's influencing you, that's powering you and amplifying you and what you're calling for. It's no different than the idea of the Veritas insignia, which, for those who may not know, Veritas is Latin for truth. We greet each other here out of the sun with that. In Lakesh, oneness, Veritas, truth, because we won, that's the truth, period, the end.
Hmm.
So
Right.
this
Right.
this insignia, we can engage with the Veritas insignia to amplify the frequency of truth within us. And even that idea, the insignias, I can go even deeper into Veritas, but we're not going to do that today. And
Hmm.
so we encourage our clients work with the insignias, and because they are conscious, just as all of our products are, speak to them and ask them to do what they are designed to do. And so we're engaging with technology, with intelligence. This is something that our ancient ancestors understood. Of the sun, many of the things that we're doing and bringing forth is ancient understandings, but in a new iteration, for the modern world. So much of this working with geometry, but the multi-dimensional aspect of what appears to be 2D, but has a third, fourth, fifth density interface. This is
Mm-hmm.
something that's available to us, so it's just about understanding, hey, I could in- interact with this. So that's one idea, and there's so many different insignias. You got any thoughts on this before I jump to the next idea?
Oh, you actually stated it very well. The explanation. I'm just here taking notes too. So go ahead.
Cool. So I'd like to talk about salts slash
Yeah.
candles. I'm gonna see if I can squeeze it all in. No, we're
Okay.
not talking about wood today. There's no time.
Yeah, we'll come back. We'll come back at another time when we can expound and even rehash everything that you said even today and add more information because there's so
Yeah.
much to engage into. So go ahead.
So salts are cool because I mean, has anyone ever been to the beach? And salt is in all of the oceans of the planet.
Right.
And historically, it's been known to clear not just our electromagnetic field, uh, but also spaces and places. And through different cultures, and even within religions, there's this understanding of working with salt.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, salt is a really close ally. One could even say a bestie above the sun, and we have them in a variety of different flavors and colors. Uh, Many of them associated with the light body, the chakra system. And the idea of working with salt is to assist with neutralizing interferences that are in our field. So, just plain and simple. I actually I did a talk at a restaurant, and one of the things that I pitched to them was work with salt. Is I grew up in Miami, Florida, and this is something that's just so clear to me. And I would always go to the beach, and when I would go to the beach, there was a good chance I would see someone drunk, but never angry on the beach.
Mm,
And it's
interesting.
yeah, and again, because of the clearing properties of salt being in the ocean, being in that frequency. First off, of course, you're in nature, but also when you're in the water, there's literally a purification process, a stripping away of interferences and this rejuvenation. What's so cool is that we experience this on multiple levels with salt. We experience the physical properties of exfoliation, which is an aspect of rejuvenation for the skin. We get the magnesium that comes through as well, which is, of course, great for skin and many other things, like with our glands. Uh, but that level of rejuvenation, that restorative feeling, transcends the physical experience. So working with salt, taking salt baths, making that just a regular part of your energy hygiene, clearing yourself of the accumulation of the day, because again, you're water. You
Mm-hmm.
get imprinted, and it's not hard to be imprinted by a thing. It's so easy. And when we consider the reality that we're beings of frequency and we're interfacing with so many different frequencies, so many different conversations, so many different types of information, it is imperative that we clear that off of us.
Right.
Salt bath's not the only way, but that's one very simple, easy way where uh, the salts that we provide assist with collapsing the interferences as it pertains to the specific chakras. And I'd like to share a personal experience that I've had. And again, for those who may have worked with the salts, uh, but want to go a little deeper with your experience to tap into the raw power that's literally waiting and available for you. So everything is consciousness, right? We have that understanding. And of the sun, our products here are energetically enhanced and they're
Mm-hmm.
awakened. We talk to our products, and our products are in agreement to do what they're designed to do with our clients. Now, on the flip side of that, our clients, or those on the line, you all can speak to the products and ask them to do what they're designed to do. So, case in point, when I am pouring up my salt bath with my extra, extra, extra cups of Epsom salt, because I like it salty, about three, four
Mm-hmm.
cups. You know what I mean, Delilah.
Yep.
I will speak to the salt. So let's say I'm using red for my base, or maybe I got a concoction going on. I got some red and some yellow in there and some green. I will ask the salt to assist. I'll say, in location veritas, DNA salt, red, yellow, green. I ask you to assist with removing and extracting the interferences in my root chakra, within my solar plexus, within my heart, restoring balance into these areas. Just as simple as that. I'm asking it to do what it does, but I'm acknowledging it. And there's something very magical about when you acknowledge a thing where more becomes available to you. And that same principle carries over with human beings. I know that when somebody acknowledges my gifts and my attributes, my skill set, I blossom. I'm like, ooh, let me show you more. You think
Right.
that's cool?
Right.
I got something else for you. So there's
Right.
this opening up through being seen. And again, if everything is consciousness, if we really grasp that, that principle carries over to all things. I just experienced it with my plants. My plants, I had them outside for like I think 3 4 days, and it's been raining. They've been getting what they need, but some debris was on them from outside, and even like some bird drippings. And so I brought the plants in, and I was like, "Oh, okay, guys, I'm gonna wipe you down." And yeah, you guys need it. And I start wiping it down, and I felt the response from the plant, like, "Ooh, yes, thank you so much." And like, I I I could feel that in me, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you all needed this."
Yeah.
This
Now, did
level
they?
of
I think they were ready. They wanted to come back in to be inside the room with you too.
Oh yes, and they are so happy, and I'm so happy
Yep.
that they're here as well. And that's another idea of clearing, to raise the frequency of the environment. Very simple things, and Lao Tzu spoke
Yeah.
about this in her super early talk. I think it was like Earth 3 or something, or one of
Regarding
one of his
plants,
early. Yes,
regarding
yeah,
plants. Uh huh. Yeah.
yeah, the oxygen and the life and the clearing that they do on many
Oh,
levels.
that really, really works. I from seeing what you had, I bought Montseras into my bedroom and my daughter bedroom. Actually, I had one taken away, so I just went ahead and someone in my house took it. So I ended up buying another one in there, and I call him Darius, and he's loving being in this space. Happiness, joy is wonderful. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm just so
don't
happy.
be this.
I wanted to acknowledge my Darius in the
Uh,
house.
and I'm sure Darius is appreciative. For real, it's and there's science finally caught up with this. There's some movie called Secret Life of Plants where they measured the stimulus of the plants and their response to even our thoughts.
Yes.
So
Yep.
again, we humans, we think everything has to be human like. When we say everything is consciousness, oh, it needs to have a brain, it needs to have eyes and a mouth to speak back. Oh, the tree is not consciousness because I can chop it down and it didn't try to defend itself. That's not the
Mm,
truth.
right.
Consciousness takes many shapes and forms. But again, just to wrap this idea of speaking to the products, when you engage with these products, because they are conscious, they are activated in such a way where they were interface with you and amplify your experience. I have had um, large interferences plucked out of, like, for example, I recall um, going through, I think I did, either it was like some soul translation or a soul clearing, and I was going through my purging process and releasing and doing my salt baths. And when I went into the salt bath, I was asking the specifically the red salt to assist with removing interferences. I
Mhm.
also had a red candle burning too. We have clearing candles here out of the sun. Same idea. They correspond with the different chakras, but this also clears your environment. I mean, salt can do it too, but this is specifically designed for clearing spaces and places.
Uh-huh.
And so I have that lit, and next thing I know, I'm in the salt bath, and then I start feeling I'm in a meditative state, and then I start feeling these undulations, like my lower pelvic floor fluctuating, and next thing I know, something energetically is getting plucked out. And
Mm.
I'm like, oh my gosh, there was something there,
Right,
and
right.
it was just really interesting to see. Now I've had experiences with salt baths in the past where, I take the salt bath and I feel restored, I feel rejuvenated, I feel anew. But having a visceral experience of knowing, oh, these salts pulled something out of my field that was there, and we both were in harmony with doing it, that was a whole new level of understanding of the product. And I've had multiple experiences with various products that are somewhere along the same wavelength of experiences. You had like a experience of skipping rock across the surface, but then, we got our snorkeling gear and we had a deeper experience with the product. So this is available to everyone who's on the line. It's just really a matter of engagement, and but also understanding. Well, I will say, suspend your disbelief. Don't allow your limited belief to stop you from having what could be a profound, uh, I will say, life changing experience, because we're constantly changing ourselves, even if it's micro or macro.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
those are some of my thoughts on that. You have any feedback on anything with the salts, or how this has worked for you, or maybe if this was a new perspective or a little tweak in your perspective of the salts?
No, I mean, I use the salts. It's just wonderful. You know how people kind of know already the benefit of salts, because especially with the Epsom salts, they know that. The DNA salt may be a newer concept because it's energetically enhanced, though, and it can boost the effects of the actual Epsom salts. But
Hmm.
people will use the salts to, for just not only getting rid of aches and pains, even emotions, even illnesses. I remember I found out my brother had was sick, and he ended up getting in a salt bath, and apparently he vomited right out of the bath, and it basically was detoxifying him.
Mm.
It was a form of detoxification, and that's what it's doing. It's clearing out the frequencies in the physical field as well as the energetic field of your body, and the your emotional fields, your mental, physical, and biological.
Yes, it's there's so many applications. In respect to time, I have one last experience that I could share to support it. That's uh, an indirect experience from a family member who, they don't really subscribe to the same lifestyle, but they have some level of understanding. Like you said, some people know
Mhm.
that salt works, and
Right.
specifically, my this is a story with my grandmother. It's
Mhm.
I have very interesting experiences with the family members, but
Right.
specifically, yeah, it's really getting those life lessons in
Right.
through the DNA. It's so my grandmother, she is what is referred to as an evangelist. So she has a Christian background, but she has had experiences where, I recommended, hey, use this salt. And I remember her being in her trailer once, and she said she was home by herself and she could hear um, what sounded like stepping through the house. And she's like, I'm by myself. I know. And she's like, I know the devil is a lie. So she grabs her salt and she starts sprinkling the salt around
Uh-huh.
the environment.
Hmm.
And she said that she stopped hearing it. Now this was years ago. Fast
Hmm.
forward, um, I gifted my grandmother and my mother and my sister clearing candles and some salt. I had a little bath and beauty kit for them. And my grandmother, I was on the phone with her, and she's in a completely different home now. She's living in some condo apartment of some sort. And so she has the candle, and we're on the phone, and she shares with me, Tarvars, I've been hearing these sounds like somebody on my roof. So I'm telling you, and it's like, how could somebody be on the roof? They can't even get up there unless they got a ladder. And
Right.
then my uncle, who's living with her, is like, yeah, Tarvars, you know, she ain't lying. I think it's a ghost or something. We hear footsteps, and it happened at night. And then my grandma's like, yeah, I think it's something there, Tarvars. And I'm like, well, Grandma, you still got that clearing candle? She was like, yeah, but I don't like to burn it because it's so nice. It looks so nice. I
Oh,
said, well,
wow.
Grandma, why don't you burn the clearing candle? It has the salt in it. Remember you used the salt before to clear the negative energies. Burn the candle. So
Mm-hmm.
she burns it. And I followed back up with her a few days later, and I asked her, I was like, Granny, so are you still experiencing the ghosts on the roof? And she
Right.
goes, I burnt the candle and it stopped. We don't hear it no more. And
Mm.
all I did was just nod with the intense level of satisfaction, like, yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
I provided
Mm-hmm.
my grandma with that solution. Now, whether she leans deeper into the idea of energetic hygiene or not, is that it's just the mere fact that she had an experience where consistently on a nightly basis they would hear these footsteps. She burnt the candle, and I told her just 15 to 20 minutes, and she stopped hearing it. I knew it was a negative spirit because I looked. I checked, and yeah, you got some entities attached to the space, and they're messing with you. And it's primarily the behavior of your son. So he need to get his act together. But I didn't even
Right.
go there. So, but
Right.
the mere fact that yes, these tools work, whether you have in-depth awareness of them at the level that I have, or you don't have any awareness of or deep awareness of the way how energy works, just allow it to do what it do, and
Mm-hmm.
observe the truth of your experience, because the truth will be evident within your experience.
Right.
So that's my story with my grandma and my indirect experience of the effects of the energetic support products, which is again a way to keep the environment in higher states of elevation, because
Right.
she was, whatever behavior that was going on was attracting these entities to her space. And it's no different than watching the news all day and the fear that pumps through, and then our own thoughts of fear because of what we're being programmed with, and we may be undisciplined or kind of allow ourselves to go off the rails. This can help corral us back in, and also set a type of correction to our space as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, Tavares. That was so helpful. We will definitely bring you back because there's so much to go over. So thank you again for joining us and showing us how property clearing can benefit us all. So
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me and allowing me to speak the truth of my experience.
yeah, we will definitely have you back again. Definitely, definitely. And so before we go, I'd like to remind everyone that this coming Sunday, Lota of the Sun will be giving a talk on water part 3, where she will provide an in-depth discussion on the elements of water and how it supports life and humanity. So it's this Sunday on the 29th, and you can go on ofthesun.com to register. I also encourage everyone to join our whole responsibility meditation, as just Tavares talked about the benefits of whole responsibility, given by Enlica Studios on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The times 3 times in those days at 6 a.m., 12:30 p.m., and 8 p.m. for only 30 minutes, working with the ancient Hawaiian practice of Ho'oponopono, focusing on your responsibility in making the desired shift in your life. And then I also, again, ask that you join us next week to listen to our next special guest, special treat, where Lolta is going to come on and provide us some in-depth understanding on the science of soul clearing and its benefits and tools of the energetic hygiene and how it'll assist our emotional, mental, and physical and spiritual growth. So I look forward to you joining us next week. And please remember to sign into the YouTube channel to listen to the recording that we just of this Clubhouse event and all other prior events. Just go on to Unlike Studios on YouTube and subscribe. And then also, again, we do have an account now on Vimeo where recordings are going to be posted on Vimeo, also on Enlica Studios. And so that you can re-listen to, the discussion that we just had on quantum like property clearing this week, today, as well as the one from last week. So please don't forget to sign in and join. All right, with everyone, I'd like to thank everyone for joining this Clubhouse event with honor, respect, and gratitude, and Lakesh and Veritas.
Lakesh and Veritas, honor, respect, and gratitude, everyone.
Rakesh and Veritas with honor, respect, and gratitude.